Yo, what's up, people? Robert Bolden. If you can say your own name now.
Kori Winters.
I said my name already.
You usually say soon to be Bolden.
Oh. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? I am Robert Bolden. This is
Kori Winters.
Soon to be Bolden. And today we're just gonna talk about our journey and what it looked like leading up to the point of getting engaged.
Some of our highlights of our journey.
Yeah. It's been 5 years as of this month, April 5th.
April 5th.
5 years. Does it feel like 5 years?
No, but I mean, COVID definitely warped
It's like
time.
A blended year.
Yeah, but yeah, 5 years. That was the day that we met on April 5th. So we usually just celebrate that as our anniversary.
Yeah. So 5 years, man.
Even though you waited until August to ask me to be your girlfriend, but that's another story.
It took a little while. That's for another episode.
Or maybe we can talk about that in this episode. I don't know.
Wherever the spirit leads.
Yeah.
But anyway, 5 full years of actually dating and courting, and all of those years look different.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just talk about when we first got started. Where was your mind when you approached this relationship? This tall, did you say mocha or like?
Mocha.
Yeah, he was fine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you said a lot of that stuff about this gentleman, who we know is myself, but.
All right.
But when we actually got to the point of dating, what were your intentions, I guess? Did you feel like this was about to go like super fast? Did you feel like, oh, this is a lot of women be like, oh, this is my husband right away. And we know that changed throughout like all of the years and stuff, but.
Yeah. I mean, I will say before we even met and I was like going through your Facebook page, a really random thought came to mind when I said, this man looks like my husband.
So you did have that thought.
I had that thought, but I kind of pushed it. I'm like, no, Kori, because I would do the most. Like in my dating history, I was always doing the most, always jumping to like future state, I'm about to marry this man, and I really was not trying to do that. I was trying to break that pattern.
So I have a question. So when you have a thought of a man that you just met being a potential mate, like your husband, where is that thought rooted in? Like, what makes you believe that is true?
Well, I would say before you, it was rooted in like fantasy, like fairy tale, this happily ever after dream, romanticism type of thing. And when I saw you, it was different. It was a different feeling when I thought that to myself. But I knew myself enough to be like, okay, Kori, let's just chill and not even go there right now.
Okay. So what you had mentioned was like this fantasy. And even though you realize like I'm not going to go down that route at this point, was that still your view on marriage?
I still viewed marriage like a fairy tale. The understanding that I have about marriage now, I did not have that understanding back then. All I knew was that I did want to be married. I knew that I was obsessed with marriage, and I was trying to reel myself back in and not jump the gun. So that's where I was at that point when I first saw you.
That's interesting. We have been listening to this sermon. His name Buckman, but he has a sermon called "What a Man Must Be in Order to Marry My Daughter," and that's just a very stark contrast, and like the fantasy and like let's just do this because this is what I feel, in comparison to what does biblical texts require of a man and in that context.
Yeah.
Like what characteristics is he exuding that would make him a good father or a good leader or a good steward of our relationship? If those aren't characteristics that you're necessarily looking for, sure, you'll get the man wrapped up in a flesh suit that looks good, but can have like some fundamental flaws.
Right. Character flaws. Yeah.
So,
well,
go
ahead. I feel like we getting into deep territory. We kind of want to reel it back in, and you know, we'll get there. But let's stay on. What was your mindset at the start of our relationship?
First of all, she's the first woman that I've dated that I've been like in the same city. So my dating life, because I like traveled and was out of state for school, the people that I dated were typically from my hometown, and I would be in either Pennsylvania or Baton Rouge, Penn State, LSU, or like at Eastern. So that made it convenient for me to kind of do what I wanted to do, and I never really had to deal with I never really had to deal with a person being in my space like all the time. So that's kind of how I approached our relationship. Like, I can still do what I want. I still have my space. I'm where I am. You are where you are. And when we decide to bring it all together, we can kind of bring it all together. But I was still operating like totally selfish. I wasn't at the space where I was actually considering your feelings and like what you would care about and all of that kind of stuff.
You talking about me?
Yeah, I wasn't at that point when I met you, but I was interested to at least engage you. And as time went on, we started dating. I began having some of those feelings like, oh yeah, like this is really good, but still wanting to do my own thing. Yeah.
I mean, well, I will say that you were upfront with me, which I appreciated. You said when we first started talking that you were talking to other people.
Yep.
And I appreciated that, especially coming out of a relationship where it was a lot of dishonesty. And so it was refreshing for you to be straightforward, and it let me know how to move, you know, in that situation, and that not to set my expectations too high. My standards and expectations are two different things. So it let me know what boundaries to set and not to set my expectations too high, to just kind of, you know, ease my way into getting to know you rather than, again, jumping the gun like I had been used to doing. Yeah. What was the point for you when you were like, okay, I can see a little relationship situation happening?
Yeah, it's you kind of get in the flow of things. Like, the relationship has kind of a flow to it, in which we begin talking a lot more. The conversations are getting a little less shallow, and like you really starting to know who a person is. And in that, I don't know if it was like a time or like a date or a thing. I think gradually, just by being with you and in relationship with you, that attraction for you grew and appreciation for you grew. And that was something that was different than previous relationships and stuff like that. So that it was something there. And I've always had, like, my best friend, he'll be my best man in my wedding. He's always been the guy that...
And his name is what?
Kori. They always battling for who's good.
I'm Kori number 1. But I love Kori.
If he watches this, he'll debate. But he's always been like my voice of reason. So I had a tendency at this time in my young age to like have good things but mess them up by being stupid. Literally just by being selfish and stupid. And he would always tell me the truth about myself, but I would never really receive that or make any action to change that. Yeah. So, and when it came to our relationship, I tried the same thing. I'm about to do something, and I'm not rationalizing to myself I'm going to go do something stupid, but in my mind it made sense. I'm like, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm telling the truth about like whatever.
But
I wasn't telling the after effect. I did not.
When he started to care, then he went to tell a little lie.
It's so ironic. I loved her enough at the moment to tell the truth when I was doing right, but the moment that I messed up, I couldn't tell the truth. Like,
he almost got kicked to the curb, y'all.
Yeah, early on.
He had to beg.
Wait. First of all, why you say it like that? He had to beg.
Cause you did.
No,
he had to humble himself.
That's a much better way to put it. I realized that I was in a pattern, and what my friend was telling me was very true all these years, woman after woman. And this time, having a woman in my hometown right here who's everything that checks off, like, I'm like, yo, I'm really dumb. Like, I kind of messed this up, bro. So, yeah, that humbled me to really just check myself for real. That's all it was.
Yeah.
To check myself and to have me and Kori, the other Kori, had a good conversation about it. And
his best friend, Kori.
Yeah, my best friend, Kori. And I think that's when I kind of hit a different level of maturity and knowing what I actually wanted. And after that, things...
Then that's when you asked me to be your girlfriend.
Yeah, I asked after that. And then we started, like, seriously dating. And I kind of had a different heart posture about it because I didn't want to really lose what I had. Yeah, I literally almost crashed and burned the ship.
Absolutely.
Early on. But it was saved. And here we are.
One thing that I noticed that we both said was patterns.
Yeah.
We were both in patterns. I was a little more intentional coming into our dating situation about breaking my patterns, but you were still kind of trying to hold on to your patterns. I was content with mine, yeah. So that's one thing right there. To answer the question I posed to you earlier, like, when was the moment that you realized that this was serious? Yeah. I remember actually the date range for me. It was in May. I was still living with my parents at the time. My parents had gone to get my sister. Erin was finishing up her contract with Nat Geo and she was coming back home. So they went to get her and they were gone for the whole weekend. And I actually wound up staying the whole weekend at your house. And that weekend. Yeah, and we had such great conversation. Like, we talked about our love. That was like the first real
yeah, I remember that.
That was the first real like meaningful, deep conversation that we had. And we talked about our love languages. That was when I learned more about your football, like your history with football, watching your old highlights. And for me, I'm like, wow, this guy has discipline. He has leadership qualities. Like, I'm thinking about all of these things.
So the characteristics are showing up.
The character, yeah, I'm like, he's like very even-keeled personality. Like, and it actually, in the beginning, did kind of bother me. Like, you came off very nonchalant. But your character and, yeah, those leadership qualities and all of that really came through. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, and the conversation was fire. And we had, you know, we were just like in a little cocoon phase. I mean, we were also, you know, doing our thing or whatever. But it was a good time.
Yeah, that was a really good weekend. And I could appreciate that. And like, it just brings me back to what we had talked about towards the beginning of this video of like those characteristics. And I think a lot of times we come into relationships like, oh, she got to look this way. She got to act this way. She got to be this way. Like, we got our checklist. But like, fundamentally, like, who are you? Like, and it doesn't even have to be ironed out to a T. Like, you talk about discipline and like leadership and all that kind of stuff. I was disciplined. And just little things like just waking up, going to the gym or something like that. It wasn't necessarily discipline with you. It was like just committed to something.
I saw that you were committed to something, and that the way that you carried yourself, and also your house, I'm like, first of all, the first time I went to Rob's house, okay, so Rob lives we both grew up in Detroit. I grew up on the northwest side. Rob grew up on the west side, like in the hood.
Yeah, bro.
And he still lives in one of the houses that he grew. Well, was it a house that
I grew up? Yeah. Yep.
But his house is very nice. Like on the inside, it's well decorated.
I just did that. I had been living there for a while, but hadn't done any upgrades or anything to it, and I just got up one day, started painting the whole house. Soon as she showed up, it was like
he had just renovated his house.
Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah, so it was like even before we really realized it, God was like,
He was preparing something,
and ordering our steps and aligning our paths and all of that. Like, we got so many little backstories of how. So yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
I like to have a takeaway. The takeaway for me was just for anyone who is dating or considering getting married or engaged or anything like that, just look for the character traits.
Yeah.
Don't look for the super carnal type stuff.
What does carnal mean?
Carnal meaning
superficial.
Yeah, your preferences. He gotta be light skin, dark skin, teeth gotta be straight, hairline can't be so much receding. That type stuff. It just has to be something. Look for the character.
Your jokes.
Look for who this man is. Even if it's not fleshed out totally, you can work with those characteristics.
Yeah.
And they can become who you want for. Or not for who you want, but for who God is calling him to be.
The last thing I would say before we wrap is that also for me, I was so focused on myself and the person that I wanted to become.
Yeah.
And exuding those characteristics that I wanted in a partner and focusing on that for myself. Because a lot of times we have this mindset, oh, this person has to be this, and this. But then it's I'm trash.
Yeah, that's the thing.
My character, what is my character like? What is my discipline like? What is, all of this stuff that I want in a partner that I'm not even exuding in my own.
What's the Matthew verse? You looking at the plank.
Oh, yeah. Take the plank out of your own eye and to remove the speck out of your brother's.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I'm just being intentional and really, really focusing on that. And I was able to recognize those qualities in Rob because I was already working on that within myself. So yeah, that would be my takeaway is just focus on yourself. Make sure that you are working on those things within yourself because you'll be able to recognize that in your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think it's a lot of as we kind of wrap up and think about how this transitions into what we may talk about in the future, I think we can pick up where it's like planting seeds, where the things are that you see that are good and that can be worked with. A lot of that is having to be ironed out later, but in a particular way. And I think in our relationship, it worked out in a very cool way because we started really learning each other.
Yeah.
And knowing what will work and what wouldn't work for each of us. So, I think that'd be a good topic to kind of dig into.
Yeah,
that'd be
good. I agree.
Well, cool.
Well, this is good.
Yeah.
These are fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like a little therapy session.
Talking through these things.
Yeah. Well, this was good. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will certainly be back for more. So y'all have a great night.
Bye.